Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, two hosts, a guests, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing? How was your Thanksgiving? It's been a little bit.
I guess it was okay as far as I remember.
Yeah.
A nice time with the family. Watch Wizard
Yeah.
of Oz Thanksgiving night.
Perfect.
Which was kind of interesting and in light of that. But otherwise, I don't feel festive for the holidays this year. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
We didn't do Halloween. My birthday was like, whatever.
Oh, yeah, your birthday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I forgot your birthday. I'm gonna make it up to you. Yeah, that all went by. It just sort of floated on by everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
I
here
think
we are
we're
in December with the snow. So it's great.
right. I think we all know why it's floating on by. I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious why.
Yeah.
So
And also I think it's been helpful to just sort of go checking out see, for a little bit. I certainly have needed to just turn everything off. If you're on the blue sky, hopefully everybody's on blue sky now. That's also been a different thing since we were last on. All of a sudden, blue sky, everybody's on blue sky. So that's been kind of
yep.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just posting about animals. That's it. A little bit of other things. I'm like retweeting cute goat videos. This is what I can handle. I can't handle these, a little bit of politics here and there, a little bit of discussion. Not that I won't be in the whole thing eventually. I just, you know, need my time. Need
I
some
think we're all doing that. I think we're all kind of like you know, marshaling our forces and kind of preparing
yeah.
emotionally for whatever it is that's going to happen come January.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we should just get right into it. You want to just get right
I
into
think
it
we should
tonight?
get right into it. Let's get
I'm
right into
I'm
it.
happy to be back with everybody. Hi everyone. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe, join if you're not a member. We are going to be having an after hours tonight. So because we've been gone for a little bit, we were gone for the holiday at least. So if you're a member and you've joined, you'll see in the YouTube page you'll be able to click on another link that takes you into our private channel, and we'll just hang out and maybe spill some tea and talk about a couple things. I know you've been reading up on an interesting book.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Chris Steele book
You
because
wanna talk about the Chris
it's
Steele book?
very, very
Yeah.
good. Very, very good. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah. So it'll be a good time. So,
yeah.
stick with us going into the after hours, but for right now, let me put 8 minutes on the clock and let us talk about what everybody in New York, being proper New Yorkers, at least myself now, what are we all talking about? I think across the country, everyone's talking
Um,
about this story.
you mean Hunter Biden's pardon? I think we should talk about that for
Oh
all
god, I
5
can't.
topics. I'm
Yeah.
joking. I never want to hear about it again.
I just can't.
Okay. Moving on. What you're talking about is the assassination, the
Yeah.
execution, the mob-like killing of Brian Thompson, who's the CEO of United
Yeah.
Healthcare in Manhattan. And the guy who did it got away. That's the thing. The whole thing is like it is kind of crazy. Usually when something like that
Right.
happens, they catch the guy right away, especially if
Yeah.
it's in the middle of New York where there's a lot of
In the
cameras and a lot of
day.
people. Yeah, you know,
And
and
they've got it looks like footage of him riding a bike and getting off the subway, like doing all kinds of things, people talking about the hostel he was staying at. So I only caught a bit of the news. Of course, I saw the image, the I'm sorry, I think it's terrifying. I, I do.
it's terrifying.
I
You know,
you
it,
know,
yeah.
and the listen, for me, the other thing that's kind of terrifying, but also um, stupid is just that the discourse around this, all of a sudden this is sort of, who's the bigger murderer? Um, and forcing a discussion about our healthcare system, which is that's worthy of a discussion, but it's that easily weaponized type of discourse where everyone's just going to run to their corners and into their camps to either, to politicize this in a way that's not, it's the typical way that things get, I feel like get infiltrated and fucked up in a discourse, but not necessarily in line with, like, are you Republican or Democrat? Not that kind of politicizing, but just sort of, I'm going to carve out this stance, and this is my frame for this assassination that you see people taking on, and there's all different kinds of things, right? But all around, would you celebrate the death of this man who was gunned down? This is an American citizen gunned down on the streets of New York. I understand. I understand the argument. I'm hearing it. I have been through my own health journeys. I get it. I understand how people are driven. You've been making this call for years, Greg, saying it's going to get to a certain place in this nation where people are just going to take matters into their own hands. And, we're going to see this sort of vigilantism. It just, I don't know. I'm just very disappointed in the discourse around this yet again. I am.
I was surprised about how many people were very publicly cheering it. There's a lot on there.
It's not a good sign.
And
I feel like that's not a good sign.
It's look, maybe now I was going to say, I stayed away from it. My thing was like, how like after there's a gun incident, we're not allowed to talk about guns. Is it like, are we now not supposed to talk about healthcare and guns? Is that the response to it? Because like, we don't know what the motive is, and we should say that too. We have no idea.
Yeah.
To your point about the discourse, nobody has any idea what this could be. This could be any number of things, right? It
Yeah.
could be totally random. It could be crazy. It could be, maybe he could be in a gambling debt. Who knows? We have no idea. Everybody is ascribing it to this. Supposedly he wrote words on the bullets that match the title of some book about how the healthcare system is bad. That's as much as we maybe know. But there were a lot of people that seemed perfectly happy about it. And, it speaks to, as you alluded to, this, there's a place in our society in the United States where the income inequality is going to get so big and so vast. And with all of the guns
and resource inequality, it's not just income. It's like
all of it.
All of it.
But
yeah.
accessing the healthcare that is random. It depends on where you work. Why? I know why, because it has to do with compensation in the 1950s. It has no relevance to now. It has to do with where you work. Do you have a pension? Do you have this? Do you have that? It's in a sense arbitrary, almost like a lottery system, whether you have insurance that's going to pay for stuff or you're going to go broke. I mean, it's ridiculous. So on this show, I think at some point I am worried that people will click, oh, wow, I'm going to die in 6 months. I've been denied coverage. Who's responsible for this? I'm going to take this person out with me. That's something that I was afraid of and I was worried about. And if that is what happened here, and again, we don't know, that is a red line potentially that we have crossed as a society. And that red line is really, really dangerous. It's bad. It's
bad. And I just want to say this thing, and then we'll tie back around to this in another topic. But, when I was researching the Russian Mafia, following all the characters and seeing how things were happening in Russia, this contemporary, right, at post Putin in the 2000s, late 90s and into the 2000s, there's a lot of video footage that you can find of hits, like Ivankov. His hit is captured on footage. There's like gangsters that I was following up on, and you can find footage of the assassinations. And sometimes it's, and you find also these oligarchs that, here's the health oligarch, here's the aluminum oligarch. They travel around with an entourage, a massive entourage and security detail. That's how you're looking at somebody who's got lots of resources, because other people are out to get them, right?
Right.
They need that level of security. There's turf wars, there's territory wars. Just to me, that video footage, all I could think about was, oh, fuck, this is the mafia state. That's just visually what it looks like when you're in a country where people just, the rule of law is out the door pretty much, and everything's about taking resources from somebody else for yourself. That's how it's settled. It's settled with assassinations of wealthy oligarchs in the streets. It just was stunning to me. So I think there's I just have a lot of red flags around the whole thing. And I find the discourse about it to be shallow. And also the media coverage, I feel like is this the new baby in the well? Is this it? Remember when we were kids, it was always some kid falling into the well, and then all of the news coverage was about the kid in the well. And it's like, is all the news coverage now going to be absorbed in these kind of heightened hits, professional looking hits that are happening on our streets? I don't know. So
Well,
it's very eerie to me.
kids in wells. There's no more kids
There's
in
no
wells
more
because
kids in
now
wells.
they would just send a drone in there and get the
Yeah,
baby
get
out.
the kid out.
You know,
Yeah.
that would be it. Baby Jessica coming on out of
Yeah.
that well.
Oh
It'll be
my
fine.
God.
Yeah.
All right. So there, we talked about that.
All right. Next, let's
Next
move on.
topic.
So somebody said,
We
by the
wanna
way,
get to our
because I
we wanna get
forgot
to our
this,
guest.
I got a little bit distracted because I had to move my location at the last minute because my internet was not working, and so I was a little bit more flustered, right? And I forgot about these unidentified flying objects in the sky over, like, literally my mom's house and my brother's house in New Jersey, in Morris County. It's crazy. My brother saw them last night. Nobody knows what they are. I don't know.
Oh, I
I
miss
don't know.
this. Yeah, I
Oh, I
miss it.
know. No, it's all anyone in New York is talking about is United Healthcare assassination. In New Jersey, they're like, what's up with the aliens right near the airport where
Oh
Trump
my
lands when he comes
God.
to New Jersey? Like, what's going on? They
We're
were
back
casing
in the
out the
dumbest
reservoir.
timeline
I
ever.
don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's a thing, and it's been going on for like weeks now.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, that's all. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on to what's going on in Romania. What's going on in the world? Talk to us, Greg Oliar, from your office of of history.
Yeah, it's my
Uh,
office of history.
yeah.
Yeah, well, in Romania, first of all, we're at just generally geopolitically, we're really at an inflection point right now where countries and people are deciding between whether they want to be democratic or not, or whether they want to be, under dictatorships. And all this right-wing stuff, this, fascist movements are on the rise. They are. And, like this week, we're going to talk about it in the fifth segment. The French government collapsed. Whoops. And that might wind up being Le Pen in there next year.
Wow.
I think the Canadian election, that's Trudeau's not. I very, very, very scared about Trudeau not winning that election. Just those two things, plus whatever happens in Germany, which is also kind of a mess right now. You already have, in Italy, what's her name, Maloney in Italy,
Yeah.
and Orban in Hungary. So this is they're making inroads here into the EU. But interestingly, Moldova, which is a country right near Russia, and
The
they
shove,
voted.
right? The guy that
Yeah,
got the
no,
shove.
that's Montenegro.
Oh,
Moldova is
Montenegro
a
was the
little
shove.
sliver on the other side of
Sorry,
Romania.
sorry.
They
Different.
they voted against the Putin puppet guy. In Romania, they voted for the Putin puppet guy, but then they realized that Russia had interfered in the election to the degree that they were like, "Yeah, this doesn't count." It was like if you're watching the NFL and they're like, "Oh my God, look at that!" It's pass interference, man. Pass interference. It doesn't count. We're calling the play back. 10-yard penalty.
And they're
Replay
redoing
first
their
down.
elections, yeah?
Yeah. So, and I don't
Wow.
know the details of it, but the point of it is they were able to do that. A government was able to look at the election process and be like, well, something's weird here. Something's fishy here. We need to look at what it is and assess it. And they were able to assess it very, very quickly. I mean, granted, Romania is smaller than the United States, and just to see, that's all. That's all. Because did the Russians interfere in the election this time? The Russians have interfered in at least the last 3 presidential elections, at
They
least.
called him bomb threats. They
Yeah.
cleared the polls, the polling stations. They cleared them where people were voting. Of all people. Yeah.
And I'm not,
That's interference to me. If you're interfering, and actually people have to leave.
it is. And it's like, it's not, I'm not saying that they
Unreal.
hacked into anything or anything like
No, who
I
knows?
don't know about that. And it doesn't matter anyway. I'm talking about the usual fuckery that they've been doing now for for a
Yeah.
while. They did it in 2016 overtly because that's what Putin wanted. In 2020, they did it more quietly and it didn't work well enough. And now they've figured it out. This is Chris Steele writes about this in his book. They have figured out what it is. There's no reality in which Putin and the Russians are not desperately trying to get Trump into office. This is no
Yeah.
reality because if Kamala's in there, that's bubble game for him. It's over for him.
Yeah.
Now he gets, Trump comes in there, Ukraine probably loses, and then Putin is seen in a whole new light. So
And
these
also
are
the
huge
sanctions.
ramifications.
Lifting those sanctions has
Well,
been,
that too. Yeah.
the pressure point. The people want
Mhm.
they want their money, they want to travel here. They don't want. By the way, did we know what happened with the FBI investigation and DOJ investigation into Deripaska? Did that just vanish? What happened?
No, we never heard about that. He's an interesting guy. Like I feel like he's like, I don't know. I think if given the druthers, he would move to the United States and be perfectly happy, not ever going back there again.
Well, he tried. He tried to get into the U.S. He even said he knew where Bob Levinson was being held, so that
Mhm.
he could try to get a visa out of that. So,
Yeah.
oh
You're
boy,
right. I forgot about that. They raided the house and we never
yeah.
heard anything about it. They
Speaking
also
of
raided the
Russian
house of
Mafia,
that guy in Florida on the day after the election. We never heard about that either. That was
there's
another.
a lot of house raiding and no hearing about it. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe our guest can help us understand why investigations just go poof when it
I
comes
think
to um,
I don't yeah.
people who seem to have ties to intelligence in other countries. It's very interesting.
Speak,
It's very fascinating.
Speaking of which, one more thing
Yeah,
before we
yeah.
move on and bring him on. Uh, Gal Suburban did a lot of work on this executive order 13848, right, which Trump did to
Yes.
kind of give there's this whole thing. That executive order is still relevant. It's still current. Biden renewed it. And it says that not later than 45 days after the conclusion of a US election, the director of national intelligence, which will be Tulsi Gabbard maybe down the line, in
Oh boy.
consultation with the heads of any other agencies, blah, blah, shall conduct an assessment of any information indicating that a foreign government has acted with the intent or purpose of interfering in that election. So within 45 days from election day is December 20th. So Biden theoretically is going to get some kind of report on this. This is something that he should get, as if I'm reading it correctly. What will happen with that? Probably nothing, but it is a thing. It's a date on a calendar that
It's a
we can
date on
kind
a
of look at.
calendar. There's an executive order. It's a
Mhm.
process that's going to happen. And, we'll see. I can't personally get invested in any of this stuff anymore. I can't spend my time thinking about, that died with me, I think, when Bill Barr, you know, blocked the
Yeah,
Mueller report and lied about it. I was like, okay, nothing matters.
that was bad.
And we're up against a very, very, very savvy enemy force that is determined to just bring about this sort of oligarchy and lawlessness. So,
Yeah,
um, just anyway, but maybe the process is going to happen. We'll know come December 20th.
and in the meantime, right, we're done with this one. Do you have
That's
anything else
it.
to
Yeah.
add? Okay. So in the meantime,
Yes.
I think we have to adopt new patriotic songs.
Oh,
I think for the new Trump admin, right? I think
Okay.
coming in, I think we need to revise these things a little bit, as Trump likes to do. So this one
Are
is
we
called.
holding our hand over our heart or over our eyes? What's the new patriotic?
I think you should hold your hand over your wallet. Is what you should do.
Ah, that's the one.
So this is called America the Stupidful.
A criminal, a predator, a long-time Kremlin tool. The heartlessness, the artlessness, he could not be less cool. America, beware of the apartheid Nazi schmuck. Trade liberty for tyranny. I mean it. What the fuck?
Yeah, there you have it. Shout out to my wife Stephanie St. John for her excellent vocals, making it operatic.
Excellent vocals.
Yeah, making it operatic.
Yeah,
And of course, for Chunk.
and we've got a dance move from Chunk for our Donald. What is this called? The wave, the snake? I don't know what it is.
Weave? Is it is he
The
weaving?
weave,
Is that what he
something
means? But when he says he's weaving, I don't know.
something so white that we had to include it. That's what it is. All right, let's get on. Let's get on with it.
Our guest is the national security contributor and columnist for NBC News and MSNBC. He was the assistant director of counterintelligence at the FBI. He wrote a book called The FBI Way, and his new book is called Long Haul Hunting the Highway Serial Killers. Frank Figliuzzi, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, listen, that was a stellar musical performance. Kudos to your wife. And it clearly beats the heck out of the January 6th Defendants album, which
that's right.
I'm all for. But yeah.
Yes, we're in a new era of patriotism.
Yeah.
So we're going to stick on the side of we have the right to criticize and ridicule, and kind of fight for that, Frank, because it seems like that's going to come under threat as well.
No question about it. No question. I mean, look, Olivia Troy has made it clear publicly now that she's the subject of a threatened lawsuit from Kash Patel for daring to criticize him publicly. So that's where we are.
Oh my God.
That's a good segue into the first question here, Frank, because now you wrote a book called The FBI Way, and when you heard Kash Patel's name being floated around as the director of the FBI, is he congruent with the FBI way at all? Is there anybody less FBI way that we could possibly find than this guy? What did you think when you heard this news?
Yeah, the short answer is no. I mean, he's the polar opposite of what you need at the top of the nation's preeminent law enforcement and domestic security agency. But I have to tell you, I was taken aback only because through sources and general media coverage, it was my guess that he was going to get the deputy director position, and that someone with some sense of seriousness and gravitas might make it to the head of the FBI, albeit a Trump loyalist, yes. But so when I heard he was actually being nominated for director, yeah, a real problem. Why? I wrote a column for MSNBC Daily on this that basically said, look, the least of my concerns is his lack of competency. That we have lack of competency throughout the nominees from Trump. I've moved on from competency. And now I'm about, are they going to be blindly allegiant to Donald Trump over the Constitution? And if you don't, you don't have to take my word for it. I've got, people coming at me on social media. You're making this stuff up. You don't know. Give the guy a chance. And I said, no, I don't want you listening to me. I want you listening to him. Yeah. Listen to his words. Listen to Pam Bondi's words, the nominee for AG. And boy, are they almost identical about how they intend to pursue the prosecutors and the investigators who simply tried to do their job. And almost laughably, if this wasn't so serious, we could laugh at this, but almost laughably, Kash Patel has said, well, I don't know if it's going to be criminal or civil. We'll have to see.
Okay. Oh my. We have to let's laugh at it. I think we should laugh at it.
You actually have no idea what you're talking about. Is that right, Mr. Patel? Do you think the FBI handles civil matters or criminal? Do you understand what? Oh, and I'm going to empty out FBI headquarters, 7,000 employees on day one. On day one. Oh, okay. And what are you going to do with those people? Do you understand what the purpose of headquarters is? To coordinate the 30,000-foot view of transnational crime, violent crime, the gangs that you rail about, the Venezuelan gangs, the MS-13. Do you understand that's why they're there, to call the shots from a 30,000-foot level? You can't just, oh, and then, by the way, to further reveal his ignorance, I'm going to put them all working murder and rape. Well, again, Mr. Patel, I'm sorry to tell you this, but in and of themselves, murder and rape are not federal crimes. So why don't you get a book on the FBI? Oh, perhaps my book. And you can read up on your new job.
I mean, it's so, excuse my language, it's so goddamn frightening. I find this so frightening. There are 3 picks that terrify me in terms of, and I know you've moved on from the incompetence, but this is part and parcel of it, of this, the thirst for power. Well, if I'm in charge, I can just do away with all this stuff, like do away with jobs and cut budgets and whatever it is, whatever garbage is coming out of their brains and through their mouths about how they think this works, right? This agency, let's just focus on this agency with Kash Patel, how he believes that agency, that arm of our government, of our law enforcement, the top of our law enforcement, how it actually works and why the people are the place. You don't have an FBI if you fire 7,000 employees. Like you just don't. So what does he have the power to do? That is my question for you. Does he have the power to come in as FBI director and just eliminate entire divisions?
So it's a complex question. The short answer is that he's going to run. If he tries that, he's going to run immediately into. And by the way, I think we can multiply what I'm about to say across most of the agencies in the government.
Okay.
Try to clean people out, fire people who appear not to be Trump MAGA loyalists. They're going to run quickly into courtrooms. It's going to be a mess. They claim that they're going to try and do away with civil service protections. Good luck with that. You can do certain things. The FBI is called an accepted service because of their national security mission. There are certain things certain rules they don't have to follow. But he can transfer some people. He can say, hey, everybody who's been here, I don't know, longer than 10 years at headquarters, which, by the way, is a god-awful amount of time at headquarters. You got to either retire or pick your field office, which, by the way, will cost millions of dollars in household good moves. You can do that. Louis Freeh, you might remember Louis Freeh was director of the FBI.
Yes.
And I was in the bureau, and when he came in, he decided headquarters was too fat and had too much dead wood. Dead wood described as mostly old guys who had been there way too long and hadn't been promoted, and were kind of staring at their wall. So he said, you know what, if you're this old or you've been here this long, you got to go to Washington field office. Goodbye, have a nice day, which is really down the street, right? And he didn't have to incur expenses for transfers or anything like that. That didn't last long. Headquarters, they realized, God, we need some of these people, and they came back. So So, it's been tried within the law. It's been tried. Louis Freeh was trying to do it within the law. How do I, not force a transfer? How do I send them to Washington field office? And it still didn't work.
It still didn't work.
No.
So let's say, okay, lawsuits. So we're going to start seeing the suits and see stuff happening in court.
Yeah.
What are we going to see in terms of our national security or what's going to be the effect on me, a citizen?
Yeah.
What am I going to see? That gunman scared the shit out of me, Frank. And I know that's murder and it's a state thing, but I didn't like that.
I love this question because it helps to, if we're all trying to say, hey, the sky is falling, we have to be prepared for people to say, I really don't care about FBI headquarters being emptied out or some lunatic running the agency. It needs a change, blah, blah, blah. So this is a good question to try to think about. So a couple things. If you empty out headquarters, right? But let me be clear. I am not a fan of bureaucracy. In my career, I spent as little time as possible at FBI headquarters. We used to joke, you need to come back from the field, get the chip implanted, and then return to the field, right? Okay, I worry about people who spent long times at headquarters. But if you empty it out, you really do lose the liaison with our allies. That's where it happens, by the way. On a weekly basis, when I was the head of counterintel, I'd have lunch with my counterparts at the Brits, the Aussies, and the Canadians all the time. I can't tell you, because it's classified, how much good we did against our adversaries when we were allied and meeting regularly. You lose the big picture. The intelligence analysts at FBI headquarters, they are the ones working literally 24/7. There are night shifts who are saying, this terrorist is moving. He's on the move right now. The CIA's told us this. The NSA's told us this. He's headed here, maybe to the city you live in. And we need to get that field office up right now. Surveillance right now. All of that will be lost if you just have a soundbite on the evening news. I'm emptying out headquarters. This is where your community loses that ability to tackle a transnational gang, organized crime family.
An immediate threat. Well, the organized crime stuff, to me, it terrifies me, because if we're not, I can see a resurgence of all of that. I really can. I think
Sure.
it's
Particularly the Russian variety. By the way.
Yeah.
the what?
The Russian variety of organized crime.
Oh yeah.
But let me just pose this in terms of the community impact as well. Don't forget, it's traditional that every U.S. attorney, including yours, is going to get replaced with a new administration. That happens. Most of them have to go. But now imagine each of them being a Trump MAGA loyalist. They are the head of law enforcement in your district. And here comes the FBI special agent in charge of your field office. And there is a lot of what I call rumint going around that has some credibility to it, that they are pondering, even as we speak, this Trump administration, how to kind of take over the field offices of the FBI. It's one thing to say, I'm going to attack headquarters. But when you start thinking about, hey, maybe we now have kind of a loyalty test for agents in charge of field offices. How about, this is another piece of rumit. We're going to take chiefs and sheriffs or detectives who are MAGA, and we're going to deputize them. Maybe some of them are already deputized as federal agents because they sit on FBI task forces. A lot of cops on FBI task forces, already deputized federal agents. I used to deputize these guys and gals all the time. It was quite a privilege, and they were thrilled to be deputized, a major feather in their cap. But now, you know what? We need cops overseeing the FBI. We're gonna, like, someone's gonna sit alongside that special agent in charge and really look at the case openings and the case closings And do you think that a corruption case is going to get opened in your town on a Republican mayor, governor, member of Congress, county commissioner? Hell no. How about Tulsi Gabbard telling the FBI, hey, no more Russia counterintelligence cases? That's bullshit. We don't do that anymore. No. That's the kind of impact that field agents right now are talking about amongst themselves. Like, is someone going to tell us the cases we can and can't open? Is that happening?
So what can they do? Nothing. I mean, I'm sitting here in my brain. All I can see is Alexander Litvinenko coming out and holding a press conference in Russia. For those of you that don't know, he was kind of like the deputy in the organized crime division of the FSB when Putin had taken over. And he came out and held a press conference because he had been given an order by his boss, who the next boss over him was actually Putin at the time, to perform a hit on an oligarch that they wanted to get rid of. So they were weaponizing the FSB to actually go after rivals and take them out on behalf. And Litvinenko came out. He did a press conference. He showed his face. He was there with his other deputies. They wore masks and called Russia a mafia state. He said, "We have fallen to organized crime. You know, the people running the FSB are actually in cahoots with the gangsters."
Yeah, sure.
So he was brave enough to do that. You know, I was sitting around waiting for the 4 years when Donald was in president for someone at the highest levels of intelligence to disclose what they knew about him. And nobody did, right? It was up to reporters, and that failed, you know. So, like, that's it. The FBI just becomes a protection racket.
You know, this is something I've been on TV all week on this topic, and on of course the murder in Manhattan, and even what Greg brought up is the drones in New Jersey. It's been a busy week, but this corruption angle I have not been asked about yet, and I think we're looking at a recipe for corruption across the law enforcement and intelligence agencies, because for one reason, you know, Trump has a disdain for inspectors general, a disdain for them, and has said repeatedly, I'm either doing away with them or I'm bringing them under my supervision. So when good agents and employees want to expose a constitutional violation or corruption, and they typically would run to an IG, I don't think that's going to be an option. I don't. And I think it's going to be get the job done at any cost. I mean, you remember Trump famously saying at some rally he was with where there were a lot of police, and he said, you know, hey, don't be kind when you arrest these guys.
Hit their head on the car. Right. You don't need to protect them. Yeah,
exactly. Now just put that on steroids in terms of not just physical abuse of suspects, but do whatever you need to do to get the goddamn job done. And I think that's where we're going to be headed.
I think so too. What is the budget of the FBI, Frank? Do we know?
Last time I looked, and it's been a while, 9 billion, 10 billion.
So whose pocket is that money going into? If you get rid of all the employees, you get rid of all the things I don't think the budget's changing. They'll probably ask for even more money.
Oh, they're way underfunded right now.
They're way underfunded.
They're way underfunded. And Doge, you know, our good friend Elon Musk and his buddy Vivek are going to cut the bureau. You know that, right?
Yeah.
They're going to.
But I don't think our tax dollars are going to. I don't think they're going to. All of a sudden, we're going to pay less tax in the middle. You know, it's like, so if this is what happens in an oligarchy, right? This is it. Public funds get funneled into some dude's, always a white dude, into some white dude's pocket.
Yeah.
So
maybe they'll go to NASA. Maybe all those FBI funds will go to NASA to pay for Elon to go up in the air again.
Man,
he handpicked the new NASA director.
Yes, he did.
Oh my God. There's something else that the FBI has in its possession, and that's, you know, files and stuff that are confidential. back in right at the end of Trump's term, the last day he was there, January 19th, 2021, he was trying to declassify that binder of materials, the binder of documents that wound up going missing, right? And he saw it.
By the way, it was recovered, but yes.
Okay. No, yeah, it was, and it's sent to, it's now with, I think with DOJ or FBI, but it's not with NARA, I know. So he had that briefly, and in the amount of time that they had it, he was able, and I got this from Christopher Wray's book. One of the things that's in that, Christopher Steele's book, one of the things that's in the book, or is in that binder, were his notes from when he was being debriefed by the FBI about his sources in Russia about the dossier. And after Trump got a hold of that, two of his sources in Russia fell off the map and have been gone since then. And that was 4 years ago. They've not heard from them since. Now, Pash Patel was designated by Trump to take care of his records in, like, I think June 2022. And the only thing that he did was go after this binder. So another thing to your point, LB, about raising money is that they have a lot of stuff there that is valuable. So what happens to that? That's another, is that a big threat? Am I crazy to be worried about this?
Well, if we're going to talk about Kash Patel and files, let's not forget that Kash Patel assured all of us that he was in the room when Trump declassified all of the Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, that's
stuff.
right. He just thought about it. He talked about it, and therefore,
all right. And by the way, all FBI employees take a polygraph before they get hired, and then every 5 years. So I'd love to see Kash polygraphed on whether he truly was in the room when Trump declassified everything. But let's move on. First day, Kash Patel's first day at the Hoover building, 7th floor. His admin, who Lord knows who that's going to be, says, "Sir, here's the cafeteria, your coffee. What can I do for you? I want all the files on Trump. Every file that mentions the word Trump, I want it on my desk." I guarantee you that's one of his main purposes or assignments from Trump. Tell me everything they were doing and who was doing it, and everybody that's under investigation that I would care about. That's number one. And I think he's gonna pick his own deputy director. By the way, we haven't talked about the further breaking of norms because we're so used to it, but the deputy director position runs the FBI every day, right? That's a career FBI agent, always career FBI agent. They're not going to do that. They're gonna first of all, they're gonna fire Chris Wray, who, by the way, hasn't finished his 10-year term.
Right.
Donald Trump will become the first president in history to fire 2 FBI directors. There's nothing wrong with Christopher Wray. You can like him, you can not like him, but you're supposed to fire the director only for gross misconduct. So they're going to have to gin something up. I suppose Christopher Wray's gross misconduct was going to Capitol Hill and saying that January 6th was an act of domestic terrorism. That's cardinal sin number one. So he'll get all the files, Greg, and he might expose them all, and maybe even put more people on his list, like the agents who simply are trying to work for a living. And that's a deep concern. I've got friends on that list of his that's in his book who have wives and kids, and they're less concerned about the legal side of this concern. Like, yeah, go ahead. I didn't do anything wrong criminally. You're going to make me get a lawyer. Okay, but good luck with a grand jury because I did nothing wrong. You know what they're more worried about is the parallel side of this, which is safety and security. Once you tell the MAGA faithful that this person is a traitor, this person was anti-Trump, this person's deep state, now you've got a safety and security issue, and it's going to get really bad for people, really bad.
Okay, so I'm so worried about that, and I'm of a couple of minds about it, but I think where I'm at presently, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that truly tremendous courage is required for everybody. Do not kowtow. Don't kiss rings. Don't, if anything, laugh at it. We need to suck the power out of this thing. And instead of giving it more with fear, because the inertia of it, the contagion of it, is what is so dangerous. And I almost feel like we can, if people were just on the same page that are facing his threats, if we just, and all of this stuff, if it just call the bluff, you know, laugh at him, call the bluff, show up, don't be intimidated. I feel like it's a house of cards that will collapse.
Eventually.
But I could be really wrong. And if I'm wrong about that, then it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so
I've been telling folks, and you know, my phone is ringing.
Sure.
Talented people at the Bureau are trying to get out now. And I'm telling them, are you sure? You sure you don't want to stay and fight? And these are people who are eligible for retirement. So I get it. I totally get it. But my advice to folks is stay if you can and uphold that oath you took to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Remember the FBI's motto, which is fidelity, bravery. You mentioned courage, fidelity, bravery, and integrity.
Yeah.
That's going to be needed more than ever. And for those who hear this and say, Frank's upset that his beloved FBI is going to get changed. No, that's not it. Shake up bureaucracy. I like to think as a leader throughout my assignments in the Bureau that I shook things up. You know, my least favorite answer, of course, when I was in the Bureau was, we always do it this way. No. That's great. You know, I hear Kash Patel and others being referred to as disruptors. These are not disruptors. These are destroyers.
Arsonists.
Yeah. They're going to set fire to the institutions that embody our values. So, you know, if you're in there, hang in there. If you see constitutional violations of law, it's the other thing, though, it's going to start out fairly subtly, the things are going to go away. We're not going to see some things happening that we can say, aha, that's it. That's a violation. What's going to happen first are our programs are going to go away. Domestic terrorism is going to be kind of defunded, those units, sections, and they're going to go, hey, the rest of you that remain in domestic terror work, you're all going against the left. You got to start working, make something up. Antifa, we don't really care. Black Lives Matter. Well, sir, they actually don't exist. You know, nobody has a business card that says Antifa on it, but they're not a domestic terror. What do you want us to do? Well, I don't care. Just make something up. That's going to happen. A real concern of mine is civil rights investigations. Do you know the number 3 priority? Do I have this right? Yes, I think I do. Is in the FBI is civil rights. Yeah. Hate crimes still happen. Crosses still get burned on people's lawns. And under civil rights also is excessive use of force by police. You think that those cases are getting opened? I don't think so. No. Prosecuted? Probably not. Cops beating people up for fun? Doubt that's being prosecuted. So, I mean, we won't see that though, right? We'll be like, yeah, what's going on with that? What happened? And then I've got to bring up that we've seen this before. You know, the past is prologue, as it says on the National Archives. Where have we seen it before? An FBI director, corrupt, spying quietly. We only find out about it years later. Spying against J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, I did a whole thing about him. Yeah. And a thief, you know, and a thief on top of it.
And people go, oh, he was rogue. No, he wasn't rogue. He had 2 presidents who told him to keep going. Lyndon Johnson and Richard Nixon. And then people are shocked to hear that even Attorney General Bobby Kennedy was totally on board with investigating Martin Luther King. So, you know, Hoover famously drafted a letter to King, as you know, suggesting he kill himself. Illegal wiretaps, no court order, planting evidence, planting bugs, getting the Black Panthers leader murdered in Chicago.
Yeah.
And years later, we find out about that because the media exposes it.
The media exposed it. It was also the era, the J. Edgar Hoover era went hand in glove because of who he was in cahoots with, but hand in glove with the rise of organized crime in this country. And the
Didn't want to hear
organization
about
of
it.
it, the
He didn't
family.
want to hear about it.
Well, he's got a lot of stuff with them, right? There was a lot. So there were a lot of deals being made. There was a lot of, we'll give you this guy, you give it, I'm gonna look the other way, and you guys run your rackets. So
Yes,
it
pretty
was up
much.
to the Treasury to hunt those guys down. It was up to other divisions of law enforcement
Yeah.
to hold them to account until we got to, the 80s. It just took that long. And by that time, the 70s and 80s, the corruption was so massive. You couldn't have a small business and not be in certain areas of this nation and not be paying for protection. It just, that's all going to come back. There's no way it doesn't come back. It's
I don't see how it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
It can come back. It can come back in droves. In droves.
in droves.
Yeah.
Good
That'll
luck
be fun.
hanging on to your pensions. Yeah.
But at least the media is better now. Oh wait, never mind.
Oh,
Never
wait.
mind. Scratch that. It's like then it wasn't owned by like 3 Nazi.
Yeah,
billionaires,
it's all corporate decision making right now. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So, all right, now listen, I know you have to go. You're so generous with us. You stay a long time. I don't think we can let you out of here though. And even if it's just 5 seconds, we got to ask you about Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, I'm not sure Tulsi can spell DNI. I'm not sure. Look, I'll say this. Of all the picks, she deserves the deepest FBI background investigation. The Senate Judiciary Committee needs to hear the story of Tulsi Gabbard. And if you say, Frank, well, what's the story? Well, that's just the problem. There's something there, and we need to know it. Why is she embracing Putin? Why is she embracing Bashar al-Assad for the time being, if he's still alive? Who paid for the trip to Damascus? Really, some of the reporting is that that trip was paid for by the Syrian Social Nationalist Organization Party. This is the oldest terror organization in history. They're responsible for bombings and assassinations, and they allegedly, I say allegedly, paid for her trip to Syria. She's someone that, it's been reported by at least ABC News that she regularly consumed her news from RT, the Russian news outlet. Someone then told her, you got to stop reading this crap. It's misinformation, disinformation. She kept reading it and kept passing out the articles to her friends. Something's wrong. And so what could that be? It could be just she's incredibly naive and will buy whatever story someone tells her, take whatever trip someone pays for. That's dangerous.
Right, she's in a cult. And I think, I know you can't say those kinds of things on traditional media, but it is, and it's a cult. So
there are witness statements, numerous member witness statements that there's an abusive scenario with this, and I'll just say that people need to look at what that is and where her and what this sect leader of hers, the power he holds over people, I think is something that's worthy of discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His name is Chris Butler, by the way.
Go ahead, Greg. His name is
Chris Butler. I wrote about it, Frank, either last week or this. I can't even remember. I've lost all track of time. In the context of here's questions we should ask Tulsi. You can ask her, this thing is supposed to be a cult. Is it a cult? We can ask her that. That's a fair question. We can ask her how much influence Chris Butler has over her. And by the way, talk to anybody in Hawaii. Everyone in Hawaii knows about this. So the open secret in Hawaii.
Secret in Hawaii? Yeah.
Widely known and discussed in Hawaii. Yeah. And the funding. Look, if people want to say, hey, be careful when you get into religious beliefs, how about funding? Yeah. How about following the money? How do they get their money? What is their organizational structure? What are their spin-off entities and organizations? What's the money flow look like through them? These are worthy of questions.
Yeah.
Worthy of questions.
She's going to be over all of our intelligence agencies. And I don't know that she has control over her own brain. So I would like to hear those questions. She might get pushed through without any kind of Senate. Where they might do that. We're going to go in recess, and he gets to appoint whoever he wants.
Recess appointments. And again, I love your kind of how does this affect me questions, Stephanie. How does it affect the far right guy sitting there going, I couldn't care less about a recess appointment. Do you care deeply about the Constitution? Yeah, kind of. Did you vote for a senator ever in your life? Oh, yeah, no, I voted for my senator. Okay. Do you understand the Constitution says your senator has advice and consent powers to weigh in and see what the dirt is on a nominee?
That's why you have a senator.
Yeah. That's why you have them. If not, we don't need senators anymore.
Let's get rid of them.
Yeah. Let's just use Elon and Vivek.
Yeah.
They'll tell us. Or as Senator Tommy Tuberville said, that's not our role. That's not our role to vet candidates.
Hey, you're talking about a guy who went 6-5 career in the Egg Bowl, Frank. I mean, just respect. This is a mediocre college coach.
Not our role. Not our role. Okay.
Before we let you go, how is everything going with your book? Talk a little bit about your book.
Talk about Long Haul
before we let you go.
Oh, you're very kind. Look, real quick. It had to be printed 3 times in the first 3 weeks. We debuted it at CrimeCon in Nashville. It's doing well, but even more interestingly, I love the fact that there are law enforcement and human rights organizations reading the book and taking a new look at how we tackle sex trafficking and how we treat trafficking victims, not as criminals, not handcuffing them, but rather coming alongside them and getting them out of that trap. That's great. And fingers crossed, we have a ton of interest from Hollywood and turning this into something more than just a book. I'll believe it when I see it. But
that's right.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled for you. Yeah, it's a wonderful book. I think Greg had a copy, but he ran to this office because he is having a little bit of an internet connection issue.
By the way, that's the one thing I wanted to say. It's only happened twice that I've had an internet issue, and both times, Frank, it was when you were on the show. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It is the Russian impact that on me spilling over to you. I apologize.
That's okay. We don't mind the gremlins.
No, I think it's obviously a coincidence, but it's interesting. So, and is there another cruise coming up? And is the cruise after January? And can we all just live on the boat for the next 4 years?
No, yeah. Yes. Well, did you see that? Did you see the cruise that is 4 years?
No.
Oh yeah. No, it's a real thing. And it's $250,000 for 4 years to not experience the Trump administration. I'm not kidding. You can look it up. Look up 4-year cruise Trump.
Oh my gosh. I have some people I will recommend that to, Frank.
Yeah.
This is the biggest piece of news you had to drop and advice.
But short answer, no. Greg and I have really, after much gnashing of teeth, we've decided having a cruise in this environment. You mentioned at the top of your show how you're just not feeling it right now. You're kind of we're not feeling it. We're going to find another way to get people together and be with like-minded people, but it probably won't be a luxury cruise. We just don't think it's the time for that.
Yeah. Well, listen, we had a live event in New York City. We had a great time. So we're going to keep doing those and try to find ways. And next time you must come.
Please.
So, I know I tried to get you up here to the Adirondacks, but we'll try that again too. And I just think in person is so important.
I agree.
And just sort of feel a community and be with a community. It does feel like you're doing something worthy, just connecting with other human beings. It's
very
really
true. Yeah. No, let me know. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Oh, Frank,
thanks so much. Thanks to you as always. All right. He's great. That was good. I feel better.
Amazing.
I feel better having, listened to.
I feel better. I'm terrified.
Even though it's horrifying. Don't get me wrong. Everything is horrifying. I probably need a refill or something, but
I think it just feels better to see Frank and that he's not. If he starts screaming and turns to the wall, then it's over. I like. There's a couple of people where it's like So just seeing that he's great old Frank. It does make me feel better. It does.
It's good.
All right. Next
Next
topic.
topic.
Are you refilling for Anheuser-Douche?
Anheuser-Douche. Somebody said, let's say the origin of this. Somebody wrote on Blue Sky, what was it? If Elon was a beer, what would it be
No,
called?
if Pete Heggs, whatever.
Yeah, Hegson. Yeah.
If
If
he
Pete
was a
Heggs
beer, what would his beer? What would he be? And I said Anheuser-Douche, and now that's his name, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so you have this guy. I haven't really looked into this guy that much because I don't think he's going to get confirmed. I think
Yeah.
not all of these guys are going to make it to the finish line, and this dude is not. He's gonna be falling off like a piece from Elon's rocket.
We'll see.
You know? Yeah.
It's impossible to tell. So that's the thing.
I
But
know.
certainly he has all the qualities of a loser. So
He does. But you have a theory. That's
I
very interesting.
do.
Yeah.
I do have there's just stuff that is sort of like hearing people's takes on why Donald is so into this guy, and all of it was like, it doesn't sound right. It's like, again, I think there's I hate that we're back in this timeline where we're like, having to pick and choose which take on Donald, because there's like 8,000 of them, right? Because he's captured the discourse so thoroughly, and he's so abhorrent in every way, and he's so extreme in every way that everyone has an opinion. Does he have dementia? Is it about his ego? Is it if you flatter him, you get his blah, blah, blah? Is it because he's casting his show and the guy looks good on Fox News? These are all the reasons. And I was struck by somebody saying that, I think it was like a Maddow clip that was like, this is why vetting is important. If you vet, and I'm like, you think they don't vet these people? This guy, Donald Trump, used to get compromise on his friends, and then play it for the wives so he could sleep with the wives. This is what we know about this guy. He grew up at the knee of fucking gangsters, of heads of crime families his daddy was fucking fronting the money for. This is not in dispute. This is all recorded fact. This guy, he vets. He's looking for these qualities. So I was like, what is it about this guy that's got a quality? Okay, looks good, Fox News, yes, complimented him, but this shallow commentary that's where it ends with Donald, and he doesn't know. Oh, I didn't know any of that. Bullshit. He's got a file that thick on this motherfucker. He got it from whatever. He knows all of this stuff about this guy that we're now learning, and picked him because of it. So I was just looking at like, well, what wasn't making sense is like, I don't know. It's like, is it just to outrage? Is it red meat for the base of like, watch all the left or the whatever we are? I don't know. People who don't vote for him. We're villainous in many ways.
Woke.
Oh, woke. That's right. I'm woke. Perfect.
I'm woke. I'm woke. I'm woke. Sorry.
You're woke. Let's watch them all. Watch how they all react to him. A Kavanaugh-esque, right? Pull it in the line of that. And then if when there's a confirmation hearing, we'll trot out some woman who's one of the 8,000 women that says, that he's allegedly assaulted, right? Or his ex-wife, whatever. And then it'll be, he said, she said, and then he'll get through because Lindsey Graham will go, ah! And Trump, will say, think about the moms. And only in this case, this guy's mom thinks he's horrible, even though now she's petitioning for him. The whole thing was just too whatever. And then it just doesn't make sense. And then, boom, it comes out that he stole from veterans associated, like the two, allegedly. They fired him. That's not allegedly. They got rid of him because funds went missing. This guy was in charge of two nonprofits, was it? One or two that were veterans nonprofits, and for just misconduct and mishandling of funds and all that. And I'm like, that's it. What's the budget for the Department of Defense? It's the biggest budget we've got for our military. And I say it again, Vivek, we've got the douchey, the douchey doges We've got Anheuser douche and we've got spaceship douches. And, these, oh God, there's no way they're going to cut all of these, departments, divisions, rip the money out of all of it. That's what it is. If you're getting rid of jobs and you're getting rid of employees, you're getting rid of all of that. You're getting rid of the waste. Well, that's all money. That's what it is. It's allocation of funds. So all of the places that the funds were going are gone. But do we think that the budget's going to go down? You think our tax dollars, we're going to all of a sudden not pay taxes? This is what it is. The rich motherfuckers the billionaires have not had to pay tax for years. That's been going on since Bush, badly, right? And it carried through. We had that horrible housing crash. They made out like robber barons. They don't pay tax. They don't pay tax on their companies. Jeff Bezos pays zero tax. Amazon pays zero tax. These people pay no tax. So what's left? He can't have them pay any less tax than they're paying. They pay no fucking tax. What do they need? They need the money coming into their pocket. They need to now make money. Great. I don't have to pay my taxes, but I think I should actually make money from the government. We're still going to be taxed. We're not going to have any of the shit that we need, that we pay the taxes for. So what is that? Where does that money go? And who knows how to steal? From the military, from veterans. That's the qualification. That's my theory.
Yeah.
That's why he's a winner. Trump keeps talking about him as a winner. This is my guy, because he's going to get in there and loot for me. He's a racketeer. I'm sorry. Come and get me, Kash Patel. Donald Trump is a racketeer. He is. He's a fraudster. It's a fraudulent university. His kids had a charity that he's part of. All his charities. He can't run a business in New York. He can't run a charity in New York.
New York State is going to take $400 billion from him because
also
he's a
convicted felon.
Yeah.
For election fraud.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't made up things.
Yeah, they're not made up
This
things.
guy knows how to take money and shove it into his pocket. Doesn't pay his bills. Doesn't pay his vendors. That never pays.
Doesn't pay his taxes. We know
Doesn't
that.
pay his taxes.
Yeah.
So I think that's, to me, this is what we're really witnessing. We're witnessing pirates.
Yeah.
It's piracy.
It's interesting that you bring up piracy, because I was thinking about that today, thinking about pirates here in my work office, because we talk about pirates here sometimes. When the pirates came in the Caribbean, it was the same thing. They were like the turf war, the mafia state. They wouldn't have called it that, but it's the same thing. They're fighting over territory. There's limited territories. They're really rapacious people and they kill one another to get what they want.
That's right.
Yeah. Although they set up governments in the New World that were the first democracies here, so they weren't all bad. Unlike the current pirates, there's nothing redeeming about any of these people. I don't think.
No.
I
just think it's a plot and a plan to just take all, because they look at those budgets and they think that money should be coming to me.
Yeah.
That's who these people are.
Well,
that should be mine.
When you grow up in South Africa and you're deprived because your daddy only owns one emerald mine, it's hard to make ends meet. I mean, how can you afford to buy Trump NFTs if your father only has one emerald mine? These are the problems. These are problems that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're here.
I know.
All right. Take us out on a high note.
What's announcements? Do we have announcements?
Oh, our announcements. I don't have an announcement. I got a horse. We got a horse.
That's a pretty big
My daughter doesn't want me posting about it. She doesn't want me talking about it. I understand all that. It's her world. I'm not trying to exploit it, but I did put some pictures up because she's so beautiful. So that's our announcement. Just a little personal announcement. And Aloe is fine. If anyone was worried about the pit bull, not getting as much attention because now there's a horse. The pit bull's getting even more attention somehow. Somehow the Pitlow she has figured it out, like these pirates. When there should be sharing, somehow she ends up with more.
It's like my son whose birthday is on Christmas, and everyone's like, "Oh, you must be deprived." Like, no, he's not. He gets everyone like doubles down and triples down, and
They feel so bad for him.
And then in June he'll be like, "Oh, my birthday's in Christmas. Why don't we should have a half birthday?" Not anymore so much, but like it makes that fine. I'm sure the horse and the dog, all good.
Everything's
like,
good.
my kittens too. My kittens are grifters. They're just like, "Oh my God, we haven't been fed." You've been fed. You've been fed like 8 times. Maybe settle down. Don't come at me with that bullshit.
Yeah.
Do I have any announcements? I don't think I have any announcements. Yeah, I don't think I have any announcements.
We're having an after hours.
We are having an after hours.
We'll say it again. Now's the time. Go ahead and subscribe. Join. Yep. We make it a very low threshold for people to come in. I've been seeing folks are gifting memberships, as our great community always does, which is also wonderful. And I am gonna change into my Christmas flannels or some kind of cozy. It's cold.
It's cold.
So I was thinking maybe I'd be too hot, but I'm not. And then we'll come back on. What do you think? Like 10 minutes after we're out?
I had it starting at 9:45.
9:45, folks. Back
Is that good?
On the YouTube at 9:45.
I think I can make it home.
I
think I can drive home and be back at 9:45 if we go.
Okay, we'll wait for you to get back home. Even if I'm on before you, I can be on before you. Okay. I think I can figure it all out.
Whatever.
I'll try.
Maybe I'll stay. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, we don't even need to do the timer because this is quick. But I feel
this is quick. The one thing I want to say, one last announcement, is that we are going to have some more content coming your way. I'm going back under the covers. We had house guests over Thanksgiving, and then it was just like, and everything was a little off, and then we were getting the horse. So I'll be back under the covers, and Greg might have some stuff for you guys. So that's why we want you to subscribe, so you get the alerts of when we're putting more content out there for you.
Yeah, we're in planning mode right now.
In planning mode.
January rolls around, things might get
like a little bit more, just a little bit.
A little bit more.
Just a little bit.
A little bit more.
A little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Quickly, I remember when Notre Dame was on fire and how horrible that was. And I think it was 4 years ago. I've lost all track of time. I think I read this. And Macron said we're gonna rebuild it in 4 years. And I remember that lots of people donated money, like a lot of money, really quickly because it's like this horrifying thing.
I mean, that was awful.
But they have finished and it's done, and they did it in 4 years as the president. It wasn't like one of these Trump projects. It wasn't Trump Tower Baku that we're still waiting for it to open. 4 years. 4 years, and here we are. It's done. It's going to open tomorrow, and they're going to have the first mass on Sunday. I think it's open to the public tomorrow. They're going to have the first mass there on Sunday, and there's all these things happening. And I just think that in light of all the horrible things that are happening, we have to celebrate something that's good, and that's something that's good.
I think it's great.
It would be better if the government hadn't collapsed, but whatever.
I know it's a little sad in that respect, but I don't even know how many times I've been to Notre Dame. I love it. It's just it's sort of a sacred expression of humanity, that human beings created that cathedral. It is a marvel. And it's so French. It's so and I love France, and I'm sad for them. I think it's going to be a rough time. And I know we have viewers from France. We're pretty little bit popular over there. So, we're here for you guys, but I'm so glad you have your cathedral back. It's just a gift. It's a gift to the world. I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's a very good thing.
Yeah.
A person who predicted that France might go right wing is Christopher Steele in the last chapter of that book. So we're going to talk about the book a little bit in the after hours.
Well, all of these things, you know what they help us to do, Craig Olear.
Oh, wait. No, what do those things help us to do?
They just help us realize, we're going to get through it.